Welcome to our conversation on embracing change and thriving amidst uncertainty. Have you ever felt paralyzed, fear when faced with the unknown? You're not alone. For many, change can be daunting. But what if I told you that fear could actually be your greatest ally? In today's video, we're diving deep into the transformative power of curiosity and the science of neuroplasticity. We'll explore how reframing fear as a compass can help you navigate life's challenges with confidence and purpose. Imagine being able to tap into your innate curiosity to unlock new opportunities and experiences. Picture a life where your fears no longer hinder you, but propel you towards personal growth. Together, we will unravel a step by step framework that empowers you to create meaningful change in your life. One that aligns with your values and ignites your passions. From inspiring stories of individuals who have successfully embraced change to practical strategies for cultivating a curiosity mindset, this conversation is packed with insights that can revolutionize how you approach life's transition. So, whether you're looking to overcome personal obstacles, adapt a new circumstances, or simply foster a more resilient mindset, stay with us as we embark on this enlightening journey. Let's turn fear into fuel and curiosity into action. So, that being said, are you ready to transform that perspective into something more meaningful for yourself? I want to kind of start off a particular way because we talked about fear on Friday night, and everybody had their different perspectives of it and things of that nature. So we're not going to unpack fear like we did on Friday night. What I want to tell everybody, if you want to hear what we said about fear, like go back and listen to Friday night's Hearts of Men episode, because we spent a great deal of time when I was on screen. By the way, we spent a great deal of time talking about fear. But what I want to do is I want to start off with a different question because I think a lot of times, like I stated previously, I think fear may present some opportunities, and I think a lot of times we may miss those opportunities. So, can you recall a time when fear led you to a positive change in your life?
Oh, I can probably think of a bunch. Um, if I had a whole bunch more time, but yes. Um, so I was married before. I was married for 19 years. I am currently married to Shale. We've been married for 2 years. We've been together for 10. So if you do the math, it took about 8 years before we jumped the broom. So at some point, there was some fear that had been brought over from past relationships or past situations that led to a certain amount of fear. If I go too far, she's going to leave. If I say this, she's going to leave. I'm going based off of things that happened in the past,
Right.
but at some point, I had to deal with those things, put those things in the past, and then kind of embrace the fear of the unknown. Every time we get into a relationship with someone, especially an intimate relationship, there is fear because at the end of the day, it's either going to work or it's not. So, whatever happens at the end of the day is determined by the two people. You can't control the other person though. So sometimes that's where the fear comes in. The fear comes in like, man, you know what? Like I said, if I do this, if I say this, they may not want to hang around. If I'm like this, they may not want to hang around. But what happens is I eventually embraced all of that fear and was like, I can't let all of those things move me. I have to push forward and do what I know to do and do what I think is best. And that means going through those things, having to deal with saying things, even though I may get a certain reaction, doing things, even though I may get a certain reaction, because at the end of the day, all of that changed me and got me to a point to where I no longer had the fear of getting married. So I was able to go forward and go ahead and get married and enjoy now I get to enjoy the happiness and all of the things that go along with being married, So I think, to kind of sum it up, just having a fear of being married again and the possibility of being a failure. Because I think a lot of times when people in the marriage or when the marriage ends up, I think sometimes people go back and they look at themselves or they see themselves as failures. And I think that, well, I know that there was a time in my life that I went through that. So I didn't want to be a failure again. So, but I had to embrace all of that fear. So I ended up having a positive change in my life and, was able to commit and move forward with someone in my life. So, and it worked out.
That's a great example. Um, I'm gonna go a different route.
Hmm.
Remember when we were in the army, and for those people who've never had this experience, I'm gonna try to make it make sense. Um, when you are E1 to E4, you get promoted based upon time and service, time and grade. And as long as you have the amount of time in service and you have the amount of time based upon the current grade that you are, then you'll get promoted. But when you go from E5 to E6, you got to go to these things called promotion boards. And so it's all the nerves that are built up inside of you. And you do hours and hours and hours and hours of studying, trying to, uncover and unpack every question that they may ask you in that promotion board. You're in your mind, you're wanting to be perfect. You want to make sure that you approach the, go to the door in the right posture, beat on the door like somebody's, like some Andre the Giant or something is at the door, right? Then when they tell you to come in the door, you got to do the right facing movements to get to the table and salute the table. And then they tell you to take seats. And you want to make sure that you do the proper facing movements to get to the seats. And then you sit down. You sit down in the position of attention, which is very uncomfortable, by the way. You sit with your hands on top of your knee, with your, with your posture straight and all kind of things of that nature. And now you just get questions asked from five people on the, I'm sorry, four people on the panel, because the one in the middle don't ask questions. In all of that time of studying, you're sitting there and you're hoping that your studies have given you enough material to actually answer those questions in a manner to which you reveal to them that you know the answer. But not just that, if you don't know the answer, you're hoping that your response is a response that is good enough that they're willing to accept. So all of that is going on in the midst of it. So it's a level of fear that you have. Like, you're excited to go to the promotion board because of what's going to happen on the backside. But leading up to the promotion board is like, oh my God, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? How are they going to ask this? Who's going to be on the promotion board? Blah, 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 blah. All of these things are going on. But once that promotion board is over and you walk out the door, it's almost like you take a deep sigh and be like, oh my gosh, it's over. And now you're anxious for the results, because you're anxious knowing, because you kind of have in your mind, you know how you performed, right? But you're hoping that your performance was good enough to their standards. And so the positive about doing all of that studying for the promotion board is a lot of that stuff that you acquire, we still remember to this day. And a lot of it came back to help us as we got in certain leadership positions. And you do that from E4 to E5 and E5 to E6. From E6 to E7, it's decentralized. It goes off to, you submit your packet, somebody reviews it, and then you get a sequence number if you get promoted. So it's less stress there. It's just the weight that goes along with it. But that fear of going into that board, man, it's just, I don't know. But the change that it does to you, it makes you more knowledgeable as a leader. It helps you to understand not only what you need to know as a leader, but if you don't remember it, where you need to reference it as well. So that was kind of like my take on it, because I don't think I've ever met any person who went to a promotion board and the backside of it was a negative experience. Like, I've known people who failed the promotion board before.
Yeah.
But even with that being said, they knew more afterwards than what they knew before they started studying for it. So when they went back again the second time, it was like, oh, that was a piece of cake. So, again, my experience, and I'm sure as everybody is listening and putting in the chats their thoughts and commentary and things of that nature, I'm sure they have some some similar experiences. Like, I'm just grabbing one real quick. I was fearful of public speaking, yet I had to confront it and understand why I was fearful, and it was all because some of the thoughts that I had about who wanted to hear me speak. So it's like all of those things factor in. Let me see who else.
That's always the case.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Us fear that someone is watching us, or but coached.
I had a fear of being told that you are not this but that.
Hold on.
Sure.
I think for me, with being coached, I had a fear of being told you are not this but that. Okay, all right, I'm good.
Yeah, I want to say there was another one.
It was Artie Murphy
No, no,
comment.
yeah, that was in reference to the promotion board.
Jeez.
Oh yeah,
I,
yeah,
look, I almost did Artie Murphy. I wanted to do it. Then I was, man, that study. I did multiple boards though, and then since I got demoted from E5, so I went to the E5 board a couple times. But I got a trophy around here. I was soldier of the month, soldier of the quarter. I did all of them boards. So by the time I got to the E5 board the second time, I was good. When I went the second time, I had just won the Soldier of the Month board.
yeah.
No, I just won the Soldier of the Quarter board, and then
Okay.
right after the Soldier of the Quarter was the promotion board. So I did the board. They ain't asked me but a couple questions at the E5 board, and I was on. I was like, man, you just won the Soldier of the Quarter.
Yeah,
Like, we already know you know your stuff. They asked me a
yeah.
couple scenario questions, and I was out.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Yeah,
only thing is they still didn't get me to they ain't max me out though. They cut me like 5 points shy. I'm just like, man, I just won the Soldier of the Quarter. You only asked me a couple questions, and then you ain't even max me out in promotion points.
yeah. I did the NCO quarter board. And after I did, I said, nope, I'm done. I don't need to go meet Eddie Murphy. I'm good.
You
Um,
said Eddie Murphy. I heard
Eddie
what you
Murphy.
said.
Eddie Murphy. And so I think that's the key because you get to a certain point, whether it's the board, whether it's public speaking, whether it's the fear that you had within your current relationship based upon previous experiences. I think we need to get to the point of realizing that fear can be reframed.
I think that was that comment Charlotte Jordan had. I think that was
Uh-oh.
that one because she had deleted it. Then because I saw it too, and then it said the message was deleted. So I don't know if you want to touch on that or not.
The talking about going from work. Is that what
Mm-hmm.
you want me to
Yeah.
bring that? Want me to bring that up?
Yeah, I was just saying, I didn't know if you wanted to touch on that. I just know you had said something about you thought there was another comment up there or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah,
then you wasn't for sure. So
yeah. She said going from working with the elderly to working with the homeless population. I was fearful based on things I had heard, but it turned out to be the best thing for me as a person. That is awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I could see. Yeah, I could see how like working with homeless would have a stereotype
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times people probably assume that they're on drugs or that they're addicts or something like that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I can definitely get that.
Absolutely. Again, keep putting your comments in there. Again, we appreciate them. Um, but as I was saying previously, we got to get to the point to where we can kind of like refocus fear, like reframe it as a compass. So that said, I want to kind of throw this out at you. Like, how might you start viewing your current fears as potential guides for next steps? Like, how can I reframe fear and make it a compass for my progression?
Reframing fear. I thought you said they had to go back to last Friday. No, I was playing. Um, but no. So let's say someone has a. I think you have to at some point decide what you want to do with whatever it is the fear is. We mentioned on Friday. There are certain people who have fears of heights, and they either are going to decide that they're going to deal with their fear or they're going to overcome it. So I think the first thing you have to do is figuring out what are you going to do with that fear? Whatever that thing may be. You have a fear of getting promoted because that promotion is going to give you more leadership responsibility. you are going to be now in charge of some of your friends. So there's some fear there that um you may have some issues when and if you decide to get promoted on your job. So there's fear there. So first of all, what you have to do is how you view it is, what is it that I want to do with this fear? Here's the job, there's a promotion, here's what comes with it, here are the pros, here are the cons, and then you make a decision. So I think that's where you start at when viewing your current fears as a potential guide for the next step, because depending on what you're going to do, you're either going to go and work towards a promotion, or you're not going to work towards it. Whichever one you decide to do, you have to start guiding yourself or coming up with a plan to move in that direction.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm looking at this question, and I see some of the comments that are being made as well. And this is, I think it's important for us to understand where that fear exists, right? Understanding that the fear that I possess exists in me, not external of me. And so, going back to my little promotion board comment, um, the promotion board is what it is. Like, the people who ran the board, they weren't intentionally trying to intimidate me. It was like the stress that I placed on myself because I wanted to do good in the board. So I think a lot of times what we'll have to do is recognize that the fear that I possess does not come from an external factor. It comes intrinsically of me based upon how I perceive said thing and the hurdle that I have to overcome. So if I don't pay attention, like, I think it's twofold. Number one, ask myself, why am I fearful of this thing? That'll kind of help me to understand where that source of fear is coming from. But then the other side, why am I paying more attention to the fear than I'm paying to the thing that I want to accomplish? If I put my mind and fix my mind on the accomplishment, then the fear, in my opinion, at some point tends to subside. So I think when we look at it and we look at how we can view those current fears that we possess and use those fears as a guide, I would say a thing that shows up in that particular moment, that fear that shows up in that particular moment, is really revealing to me how much I really care about this thing that I'm pursuing. So instead of being fearful, recognize that this thing here I am more passionate about than I am fearful. Maybe the fear is that, well, I fear failing it, but maybe it's our posture of failure that's actually wrong. Like, case in point, like we talked about previously, a person who goes to the promotion board, if they fail it the first time, well, they still got the knowledge that they've acquired from studying. So when they go back the second time, they're almost two times more knowledgeable because they went back and studied again. So is failure really failure, or is it that failure is not me accomplishing the goal at the level that I wanted to accomplish it at? See, I think when we start restructuring those thought processes and look at things differently, it's like, maybe the fear was designed for me not to do it. So if I circumvent the fear that's preventing me from doing it and I do it, going back to looking at some of the people's comment, I did this and this is the best thing that I've ever done. Right? I pushed through it and I had to do this, like the point about public speaking. So I think all of that is a part of the reframing process. Understand where the fear originates from. Why am I fearful of it? Maybe I've never done it before. Well, that could be a reason. So I don't know what to expect. That's okay. That means I get to learn, right? Well, I might be concerned about what people see when they see me. Well, that's because I'm focused on me. Stop focusing on me and focus on them. Then I don't necessarily worry about what they see when they see me, because my goal, my job, and my intent is to give you the best version of who I am and what I got in that particular moment. So when we ask those questions, we identify where the fear originates from, then just change it around. And then when you change it around, it should help you to move forward. And the goal is to move forward, not to circumvent, not to squash the fear in that moment. I think that's virtually impossible. I think it's virtually impossible for you to squash the fear and I have no fear. I'm going to go in this, brave, and that's not ideally. That's not idealistic. That's not even reality. But if I can circumvent my perspective of said fear and then find the thing that makes me continue to move forward, then as I'm moving forward and doing the thing, what I realize is that I become less fearful in that moment. And then at some point, when I'm in that promotion board, when I'm standing on that stage talking to said people, when I'm dealing with the homeless people or whatever the case may be, I reach a point to where it feels like I can exhale in that moment because it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Um, there are a lot of people out there who believe that they have to get over their fear of something. Say, well, I have to get over my fear of heights, or have to get over my fear of bridges, yada yada yada, etc., etc., etc. I don't want to make light of anybody's fears. Um, but you have a fear of heights, and you've decided that that's not a fear that you're willing to tackle. Before we started going live and before we started doing podcasts, on video, you were doing audio only. And I don't know if it was fear, but let's say for this point, it was fear. So how is it that you or anybody else, how is it that people decide, these are fears that I want to overcome, and these are fears that, what, I don't need to overcome? Like, how does someone determine those different things? And I understand that it's individual, but I'm kind of looking for something more general.
I think so. I'll go back to what you asked me, particularly about um, podcasting versus overcoming my fear of heights.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say it like this right here. For starters, I have no desire to overcome my fear of heights because I have no desire to be that high off the ground. That's just it. There is nothing about me being elevated above the ground or whatever outside of flying in an airplane that pushes me in the direction in which I'm trying to go. On the other hand, podcasting is something that I talked about. I was doing monthly coaching meetings with some fellow coaches, and we talked about what we wanted to do, and we became accountability partners for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I announced it like 2 months previously, then one of them says, "How's that coming along?" Like the next month. I say, "Well, it hasn't yet." Okay, cool. The next month came along, and she said, "How's that coming along?" And I said, "Well, it haven't yet." So she stopped. She said, "Okay, how can I help?" And I don't know what it was. It was just that one question that she asked me was enough to get me to get off my duff. Right? It was like there's nothing that's preventing you from doing a thing except you. And then once I got in, and as you already know, it's like you got to try this and try that and figure this out and understand how to do this. And when I was doing audio podcasts and I was using GarageBand, and if you don't know, GarageBand is a software that's on Apple computers. And so what it allows me to do is to record it and then go back and edit it. Safe haven. I can use my edit feature to, pull out the blunders and the stutters and all kind of stuff like that. And I got to hide behind that for a while. But then I met this young man named Garfield Martin. And then Garfield said, "Hey man, I got this audio, I got this YouTube channel. You're welcome to come over there and okay, cool." And I said, "You know what? I'm gonna do it." I don't know what it was. It was like the conversation. I know you remember that conversation. The conversation that I had with this brother that day, it was almost like he and I knew each other. It's like we never met though. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never talked to him before, but in that conversation, it felt like I knew him. So when he said, "Hey man, if you want to kind of like cut your teeth in a YouTube sphere, you're welcome to come and join my channel and participate in conversation over there." I was like, "Count me in," because I've gotten myself to the point that I try to find more reasons to say yes as opposed to automatically saying no. No is easy. I think no is the easy button for everything. And I think too many times we're too quick to access no. But when you asked the question that you asked me was in line with what I knew I was called to do anyway. So if I'm already doing it in an audio space, why not do it in a video space as well? Because even in the video space, I can still put it in the audio space if I wanted to. So I was like, yeah, it's an easy answer, quick. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to go pray on it. None of that stuff because it's within line of what I'm doing. So I think when it comes down to certain fears that we have, like I sent out a TikTok video to some people the other day, and it was about some people going to the safari and staying in these huts in the safari. But They had armed guards. That was it. But they're out there. They had animals, the lions, the tigers, the bears. Oh my, all that stuff. I have no desire to do that. That's not a fear that I want to overcome because that's not in line with what I'm called to do. And I think for me, that's the that's the veil. The veil is whether or not are you called to do that? No. Does it help what you're called to do? No. Does it help what somebody else called to do? No. Then the answer is no. Are you called to do that? Yes. Does it help what you're called to do? Yes. Does it help what somebody else called to do? Yes. Then the answer is yes. It's a very simple metric for me. This is a fear I'm willing to tackle. This is a fear I have no desire to entertain.
I get that. I'm sure there's some fears out there that I don't want to tackle, but there's some out there that I do want to do. Like I want to go noodling.
What is that?
Oh, that's when you go in that muddy river. You stick your hand down in the bank and
Oh
hopefully it's
no,
a
yeah, yeah,
catfish
yeah,
down in
yeah.
there.
No,
Yeah, you come over
no,
there
no.
60-pound
Yeah,
catfish on your arm.
yeah. So
Yeah, come like
no, I'm good.
yeah. I want to do that.
I've
I got
seen.
because I'm a short king, because I'm a short king, man. I be wanting to I like doing stuff like that, man. Like I like doing stuff that I think, Vikings or like big dudes do. You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, if I had it my way, if I could play a position,
Mhm,
a real position in football, you know
mhm.
where I want to play?
Offensive line.
Yep.
Hey man, you need to go buy your Cadillac Fleetwood.
You
Um,
you want to be more specific?
sure, go ahead.
Right tackle.
Right tackle.
Yeah.
I got you,
Oh,
man.
bro, right tackle, bro.
I got you. I think the voice of reason. I'm sorry, Lisa. Made mention of this earlier, and I was like, how did she know we were going there? Or maybe it was just something that she was taught. There it is. Like, how did she know? And I was
Uh-oh.
like, yeah, like I don't know if she had access or something. I'm joking when I say that, but I think a lot of this has to do with neuroplasticity, and I just want to kind of reveal some things to you guys at first. So first and foremost, like when we look at it, understanding what neuroplasticity is, a it is the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life. And it's a result of like our experiences, our learnings, and also our injuries as well. Recent studies have shown that neuroplasticity plays a crucial role in combating age related cognitive decline. Research has also shown that engaging in mentally stimulating activities, such as learning a new skill or languages, can promote neuroplastic plastic change. Uh, Tongue tied there for a second. Neuroplastic changes in the brain, effectively slowing down the effects of neurodegeneration. For example, older adults who participate in structured cognitive training programs exhibited improvements in memory and executive function, demonstrating that the brain remains capable of change and adaptation well into later years. This highlights the importance of lifelong learning and mental engagement as strategies for thriving amidst the challenges of aging. So for all of you people who keep saying I don't need to grow and all that other great stuff, don't kid yourself. I'm trying to tell you. And here I want to kind of show you this one as well, because at the end of the day, let me move this banner out the way. It kind of helps to define more about how the brain changes, right? So you got neurogenesis, which is a continuous generation of new neurons in certain brain regions, and then you have new synapses, which is new skills and experiences create new neural connections, right? And so that kind of helps you to fire off those charges when it comes down to thinking and so forth and so on. Strengthens synapses, repetition and practice strengthens neural connections. In other words, the more repetitious a thing becomes or habitual, then you have thicker pathways along it. And then you have weakened synapses, which the connections in that brain region, they aren't used, so they become weak. So whatever habits that you abandon, they go from being thick to thinning out to the point where again we're not necessarily using them in that manner. So this is all important because this is all about change. Because if we don't necessarily know that to be the case, then we'll keep missing the mark and we'll intentionally avoid doing new things because I'm fearful of doing the thing. Now, how does knowing that your brain can adapt influence your approach to fear and change? How, and I'm asking you, Uncle Junior, right? Um, and I know that you. I kind of felt like old boy for Harlem Nights just now. You guys know what I'm talking about. Um, I know that you knew this already, but when you first discovered that, right? When you first discover like neuroplasticity and things of that nature, like how does knowing that influence your approach to fear and change?
Man, so I don't even know if I knew what this word was to about 2 or 3 minutes ago. I don't even know if I ever seen this word. I probably have, but it didn't stick wherever I passed it at previously in life. It didn't stick. So, but just looking at this question, I can't help but to go back to when I bungee jumped. This was a few years ago. This was, I would say, around 2012, around 2012, 2013. At the time it was in Washington State, and it was supposedly the highest bridge jump in the United States or something like that. And man, it was fun. So when I went up there, I told myself, like, in the, I don't know, this may not sound right, but being in Iraq and stuff like this, you didn't face fear and death. You just like, man, whatever. So I was up there and I was like, look, man, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. If I check out, I check out. Like, bro, just get on up there and just do what you got to do and just get over it. So, but what I didn't realize was that when I got up there, like the whole way up, um, just having conversations with myself, like the fear itself kind of subsided. That's kind of when I really tried to when I can really recall when I really tried to intentionally changed how I thought about the fear itself. That's when I can recognize it the most, and that wasn't but 12 years ago, 12 years or so ago. It's like you're gonna do it, you already paid your money. The I started rationalizing and using positive self-talk to tell myself that this is safety. It's meant, they're in the safety business at the end of the day. If someone checks out of here because a rope breaks or something like that, then they lose everything. So but that's when I recognized that, hey, look, bro, if you use positive self-talk, it'll work. And then going through that whole experience of actually jumping out there, being able to talk myself through it, being able to use positive self talk, and just doing that whole experience, is when I really, afterwards, being able to go back and reflect and see how all of those things worked together and how my approach to fear, in the future kind of got shifted then. It's like everything else I do, I've not everything, but most things that I've done since then, I've kind of approached it the same way, using positive self talk and then doing different things like that. So my approach to fear has shifted, and I think that may be really the first time that I can recall reflecting back and seeing that that's exactly what it was.
Hmm. That's good. And see, I'm still because I got after you paid your money, but
Hmm.
there was a thing like to me. I think the decision point is for you deciding to pay for it, right? Like it's almost like paying for it defines the commitment. Let me say it again for the people in the back. Paying for it defines the commitment.
Yeah,
Now, after
like
you
coaching.
committed, exactly. Now, after you committed to the thing, now you have to follow through it. Was there any kind of like mental jousting that you went through to pay for it?
Yeah, because I was like, what if I pay for it and then I don't go through with it? So there was that too. Absolutely. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Because back then, funds was a lot more tighter.
Yeah.
So but I was getting a little TDY money. So but
Okay. All right. And so, to your point, I can share with you, I believe one of the first places, well, not one of the first places, but one place I know that you heard of neuroplasticity is when you was in school. Guaranteed at some place in your graduate degree program, you taught neuroplasticity because we did. And I think if I recall correctly, our degree plans are very similar. And I know we talked about neuroplasticity because we talked about human behavior. And
Mhm.
so, what we're talking about, really, if people are paying attention, we're talking about human behavior and how fear kind of interacts with you when it comes down to your behavior. And I think when you understand that your brain has the ability to adapt and change the way it thinks and create new pathways and strengthen certain pathways and things of that nature, I think what ends up happening is that we will become more intentional about pushing through the level of fears that we have, realizing that maybe the reason why I am still experiencing fear for this particular thing is because there's an old neural pathways that is very thick, and that thick neural pathway say, "Oh, you're about to do something different. You should be afraid. Be very afraid." Right? Because you're trying to get outside your comfort zone. Well, when you get comfortable in your comfort zone and you're not accustomed to going outside of your comfort zone, then it's like, oh, be fearful, be fearful, be fearful. This is too hard, go back. And that's what ends up happening a lot of times. But when you create a habit of going outside of your comfort zone, now when that fear comes up, you get excited because you know that now that fear means that you've reached the limits of your comfort zone and now you're about to experience a breakthrough. So just knowing that your brain has the ability to adapt, so that you can adjust the way that you view fear and change is a good thing. Only thing we have to do is change the way we think about it and change the way that we behave when those thoughts come about. Somebody said that was daredevil energy, bro. You
Who,
you
me?
yeah, you.
Oh, absolutely. You only live once.
That's it. Fear is a signal, not a barrier. People can interpret fear as a natural response to stepping out of their comfort zones, signaling an opportunity for growth. There you go.
Signal, not a barrier.
Hmm.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yep.
Man, 43 minutes. Okay, we got to keep pressing forward.
Sheesh.
I know, right? All right, cultivating a curiosity mindset, and I think this is good, right? Because now this is the other side of fear. We become curious about a thing. You were curious about bungee jumping. Don't know why, but he was right.
Mm.
So outside of bungee jumping and completing a marathon, like what is one thing you've always wanted to learn but hesitated doing so because of fear?
Because of fear. Shoot, man, you had to come back to me on this. Because of fear? I don't know.
And see, that's the funny part about it. As I look at this question, I don't know either.
Yeah.
Because like I said, there are certain fears that I don't have a desire to overcome. But
Yeah.
then the fears, like case in point, you and I doing the podcast. That was one. It was a fear initially. And we talked about how we experienced those things, but we pushed through it. So now I don't know.
I
Um,
got one.
Go ahead.
I'm ashamed to say, man, you grab the mic. This book, bro.
Mm,
This book. I even said in 2024 that I was going to write that book. That book hadn't written. Um, the fear of writing that book, man. A lot of it is, some of it is who's going to buy it, who's going to read it, what, how is it, how can it be written, how is it supposed to be written, like all of the different things that go into it. Self-publishing versus posting it on, Amazon or something like that. So all of those different things going in there, writing it, having it in a Google Doc, and then one day going into a bookstore and actually seeing my book on a shelf that someone didn't stole my stuff. So it's like all of those different things have been part of the fear in my life currently, being transparent as to why I hadn't written that book. And that's the one thing that I've always wanted to learn. Um I think it's a learn because this whole writing the whole book thing is a learning experience. I've never written a book before, so I would have to learn how to do it in order to write it. So that book thing is right now that thing that's hanging over my head right now.
See, I'm with you there, but I'm struggling to say that it's fear. I don't know what category to put it in, but I don't know if and I'm speaking for me, not for you, of course. I don't know if I want to call it fear. Um, am I afraid to write? No, I'm not. Um, do I know how to write? Yeah, I do. Actually, I don't like it, but and I think for me, I think that might be it. I think it's the fact of what I don't like to do versus what I enjoy doing. Like you asked me to do this right here, I come up, let's do it. And I hit the play button.
Yeah.
I hit the go live button all day long. But then when you tell me to write, it's like I want to do that. It's like such a drag. But I also understand that there's value in doing it. And I think a lot of that is just like when we did our graduate program. Like for those of you who don't know, a master's degree is nothing but a bachelor's degree that makes you do a lot of busy work. It's just my take on it. Like you learned the lesson, I read it, but you still got to write a paper on it. But I already got the lesson. Okay, write a paper anyway. But from my understanding, so when you go a step higher, the PhD is a little bit more of that research and things of that nature. But you still got to do a lot of writing. I don't like writing. I don't, and I think maybe that's the thing. Maybe I need to restructure my thought processes and don't look at it based upon like versus dislike. Look at it based upon the things that you need to do, based upon what you're called to do. And if I look at it from that perspective, I can see it, but again, I still struggle to call it fear from that aspect. It's just I don't like doing it. Um, so yeah, I get that. I do get the book thing. I'm just struggling for me. I'm just struggling saying that it's a fear. Auditorium, like standing in an auditorium, large people. I think there's a degree of fear there. Like doing this is to me is easy and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Standing in front of 30 people, 50 people, easy. I do it all the time. Standing in front of auditorium with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, there's some fear there, but that fear is also jousting with excitement for me. That's a level of fear that I would gladly take, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, that's the thing that's hanging in the balance for me. Being in that auditorium, standing on the stage in front of two, three, five, 10,000 people, whatever that looks like. There is definitely, I don't care who you are, there's definitely going to be a degree of fear there, but there's also some excitement there that balances the stage as well.
I'm about to hog the show. I
Great.
apologize in advance.
No, you good.
I'm about to make this about me. I think I may have just had a breakthrough, bro. Um, I'm over here thinking as you was talking, and part of that fear, I definitely got the comment about the confidence. I definitely understand the confidence. Part of the fear is, yeah, I went to school and I did all these things, but I never learned how to write a book. But as you was talking, something kind of came to me and was like, well, this is my book. I'm writing it. I don't have to learn how to write a book. My fear was learning how to write a book, making sure that everything in the book was the way it was supposed to be according to how you write a book. But at the end of the day, the first person who wrote a book didn't follow a guideline. They wrote a book.
Mhm.
So this is my book. I can write my book how I want my book to be. So that right there, just having this conversation in a sense may have just freed me from something. It's like um definitely feel some freedom right there right now because it's like I don't have to put my book doesn't have to fit inside someone else's representation of what a book is supposed to be and what it's supposed to look like. So man, I thank you and in the chat right now for being able to get this breakthrough, bro. It's like bro, man, it's like, man, like, see, this is the reason. This is part of the reason, bro. It's like I don't know. Um, I don't know,
No, that's
but
good.
But I
And
don't know. I like that, man. I like that.
but watch this. Your
Mm,
breakthrough on stage was somebody
mm,
else's breakthrough at home,
mm.
because there's somebody else who in their mind want to write a book. They just never got to they never got to the point to where they actually completed the book, because
Yeah,
in their mind they asked themselves a question like, who's going to want to read what I got to say? Who's going to want to learn from me, right? And I think the key there is, why am I worried about those people who I
my
got a
book.
question, right? Who, if I got a question whether or not this person, I'm just using this person hypothetically, if this hypothetical person that I made up in my mind would be questionable about reading and learning from me, then I didn't write my book for that person. I wrote my book for the person that's interested in learning from me, interested in learning the things that I went through to get to where I'm at. I think that's part of the breakthrough. That's part of the changing and reframing that we got to do in our brain. So I love that. Um,
Mm,
when I wrote my two books, the publisher tried to get me to change it, and I refused to. Just as you're saying that, Uncle Junior. So there you go.
yeah.
It's your book,
Mm,
and it identifies with your personality, and that's what gives it your stamp of approval. So I love that.
yeah.
I love that.
My book.
Yeah, man. I
I
like it.
might even have some misspelled words in my book. It's my book. Shoot.
I want
It
to.
don't mean I'm dumb. It just mean
No, no,
maybe I
no,
left it in there. I'm human. Maybe I wanted to leave them in there. I
no,
ain't
no,
perfect.
no. No, you're good. I want to get to the point of
Breakthrough.
this, because I think it's important for us to do. Um, and time is really starting to not be on our side real quick.
Sheesh.
Um, I think it's important for us to create a personal change framework. You can write it down, you can codify it. You don't have to. It can be one that you have in your mind, kind of like I just articulated mine just now. That helps me to determine whether I need to change the way I think about a thing and attack this fear, or say, no, I'm good. I don't have to. And so I like to start off with rooting my framework in what's important to me, which is, in other words, my values, right? So, what core values resonate with you? I'm talking to the Uncle Junior himself, right? What core values resonate with you, and how can they guide your decisions during times of change?
Man, one of the core values is discipline. The core value. Man, that may be a hard one for some people. So let me back up. Let me use consistency. Nope, I'm sticking with discipline. Man, when you try to live a life of discipline, and that is always at the forefront of your mind, then you understand that regardless of what goes on, you have to stay disciplined, right? Coach brought up the military. We both spent 20 plus years in the military, and there's a lot of change that happens in the military. You PCS, you go from one station to another station, you go from one unit to another unit. You have different types of supervisors who supervise differently. You have all of these different changes. But if I, Mr. Uncle D, Uncle Junior, if I have discipline, I am going to stay on my workout routine. I'm going to stay on my eating plan. I'm going to stay on my study habits. I'm going to stay on my mental health um, program. I'm going to continue to brush my teeth and comb my beard and take showers. All these different things, regardless of what they are. If I'm a disciplined person, then regardless of what happens, and regardless of what happens, and all of the different changes, my decisions and how I move don't change. I stay solid to who I am. I am a disciplined man. I try to live my life as a disciplined person. So that means in all aspects of my life, I try to be disciplined at, eating, physical, mentally, socially, all these areas of my life, even with relationships with coach, with other people, co-workers, colleagues, friends, family, being disciplined, stay who I am, regardless of who it is. So that's what I think, man. At the end of the day, what core value resonate with me? Discipline, and how can discipline guide my decisions during times of change, because of it, the discipline, I don't allow myself much flexibility when it comes to change. Some, but not a lot.
I like it. I like it. Um, for me, it has to be in. There's a number of things that I can incorporate in this, but it has to be a growth mindset. I think.
Mm,
I think a lot of times what we do is we'll grab a core value off the shelf, and I'm gonna say a core value of peace, and we'll say peace is a core value of mine, and it is. But I think for me, the reason why I choose growth mindset because it allows me to grow in understanding when it comes down to peace. So I can't have a fixed mindset when I'm taking a core value that I'm trying to learn. I can't have a fixed mindset when I express this core value this way, but then you express the same core value in a different way. And the way that you do it is 10 times better than the way that I do it. So a growth mindset allows me to look at all aspects of what I'm pursuing to do, like love, joy, peace, kindness, meekness, temperance, all those things, and realize that it looked different in 2023. 2024 looked different than 2023. 2025 is going to look different than 2024. 2026 is going to look different than 2025. Why? Because as an umbrella that encapsulates the core values that I believe is important in my life, the growth mindset allows me not to view it as me knowing the ins and outs of it 100% without any error, failure, or whatever the case may be. It recognizes that I am learning in time and space as it pertains to those things that are important to me. So when something comes up that I have to make an adjustment to, make changes, or this thing that kind of strikes a level of fear, well, maybe that fear exists. Maybe that change has been presented to me because I am displaying a fixed mindset within the space of my values. And if that is the case, now I go down my framework of thinking and say, yep, this is worth the change because it will help me to grow in my understanding of my core value. Therefore, I can express it in a more authentic fashion.
I mean, you can't go wrong with that one.
You
Shoot.
can't.
I mean, a lot of people need to spend more time. Mindset,
Yeah,
mindset,
yeah.
mindset. I remember
You
when I
need-
was little, man, my dad told me that, the brain is like the computer of your body, and everything starts with your mind. He said everything starts with the thought. No matter what. He said if you to blink your eye, to lift your finger, it all starts up here.
Mhm.
So it's funny how something, as a child had, I always understood that, but hearing it from you and hearing the word mindset go along with that is just it just made a connection somewhere. I don't know, it was cool though.
and
My
I give you
birthday was on the 9th, man, so
yeah,
RIH to pops.
there you go. There you go. Like given these examples here, I'm gonna use his divine appointment and Lisa's.
Mm,
Lisa say integrity and responsibility will be the core values that I choose to walk in. Right? At this current level of understanding, I walk in integrity and responsibility. But as my mindset allows me to grow in understanding, the way I walk in integrity and responsibility is going to look different. Spiritual integrity, resiliency, growth, accountability, adaptability, and purpose, right? Core values, right? But my understanding of them is how I show up with them. As I continue to grow in my understanding, then I will grow in all of these things as well. So that's why I stress the growth mindset concept. Because if we ever have a fixed mindset on a thing, we think, and again, I'm just using theirs because they were bold enough to put this in the chat. We think that my version of resiliency, my version of spiritual intelligence, spiritual integrity, my version of humility is infinite, but it's not. We are finite beings in pursuit of an infinite being. And so when we understand that, my understanding of any aspect of my existence has limitations, albeit the limitations that I placed on me, but they're still limitations. So I can't believe that what I understand and know right now is complete. So I have to be open to change. I have to be open to getting outside of my comfort zone and all that stuff. So I just kind of wanted to add that to it as well.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Add it on.
yeah, man.
Um,
And so again, what I'm asking everybody to do, and I'll say this for my final thoughts, and I tell you up front, but I want everybody to create their framework. And if they don't have one, that's fine. We can help you with that. Okay. Um, Looking at time, we are at the hour mark, so I think we're
dang.
gonna kind of. I know, man. Um, I think we're gonna kind of jump into some true false real quick, and I only
Yeah.
got and I got a very limited number, so we're gonna be fine.
All
True
right.
false. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to change and adapt in response to experiences and learning.
Man, this is an actual test question, man. Where's my notes? Man, I think I'm say true. I was paying attention. I think it's true.
All right, all right. Waiting on the chat to kind of give their responses.
What they over there talking about over there?
I
I
don't
hadn't been
know.
over there in a minute. So Charlotte Jordan said
There we
true.
go. There we go.
New
There,
consideration true.
there we,
Nodella true.
there
His
we go.
divine true. Verlene
There
McCoy
we
true.
go. Everybody's all over
Everybody
it.
throwing up the T's. Asian
All
artists.
right. Yes,
T.
sir. The answer is true. Very good. Very good. All right, number two. Embracing a curiosity mindset can help mitigate feelings of fear and anxiety when facing change.
Ooh,
Hmm.
can help. Man, let me another technical file on that. Give me another T. Tee me up again. Tee me up, folks. Give me another
Crystal
T.
talking about going
Charlotte
to
Jordan.
yeah.
There she goes. She got that T out there again. Come on, Charlotte Jordan with the T.
Okay, all
She be
right.
having the other kind of tea too. She be doing some stories. She be having the tea.
She be having the tea.
She be having the tea.
Okay, all right, all right. I'm lost on embracing curiosity. Um,
Ooh.
no, don't be lost on that. So the answer is true. And it's not embracing with like rigidness, right? It's just embracing the idea of being curious. That can kind of help us overcome fear and anxiety. So if we change the fear that we're experiencing into curiosity, then it will kind of help us to move forward. Not that you're going to change 100% of the fear, but it just helps you to continue to move forward in spite of the fear.
Especially a
Okay,
fear that has been placed on us.
exactly. Good point. True, false. Once a person reaches adulthood, their brain stops changing and neuroplasticity is no longer relevant. Absolutely.
Oh,
All right. All right. All right.
oh. I had something about this earlier too. I forgot what it was.
What's that?
It was literally. It was specifically to this right here.
But wait a minute. I got a question.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember.
I do have a question as it pertains to this
Mm-hmm.
because it says that once a person reaches adulthood, and I'm going to go beyond adulthood, I'm going to go to senior level, their brain stops changing and neuroplasticity is no longer relevant. And everybody agrees that this is a false statement. So if that is true, then me saying or expressing that I am too old to change or I'm stuck in my ways is also a false statement.
Ouch. Woo. Cause we about to get banned.
Really?
They ain't gonna be back with us next week. You just
I'm
stepped
just,
on somebody's toes.
I'm not trying to. I'm just, I'm just,
Stepped on, you just stepped on Charlotte Jordan's toes.
oh, I'm sorry. See, I had
Picking,
no,
picking.
see, you gonna get banned, not me, because I didn't know. Oh my goodness, man! Listen,
I mean, because I think that's kind of what I was talking about. Because you have people that's like, this is just who I am. And I hear people say that, and I'm just like, I don't believe that. That just means that you're just stuck in your ways, and you haven't came to a point in your life where um you're trying to grow. You haven't grown. That's a non-growth mindset. When you say I'm stuck in my wave, that means this is who I am. You have leveled out, you have reached your peak, and this is the max of who the person you have become. This is who you are. You are a rude, mean person.
Absolutely. Lisa Keys
How
got it.
you are.
It is the definition of a fixed mindset. And here's the reality of the truth. It might be who you are right now, but that doesn't mean that's who you got to remain.
Yeah.
Like you make that choice. Like you get a vote. And again, I agree that that is an excuse. Um,
100.
and I don't mean no harm. I'm, 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 I'm,
Hey,
I'm, I still got a lot of growing to do, and I
hey,
welcome
don't
every bit of it.
hit dog or holler. So somebody over there hollering.
Man, listen, let's go to actionable advice before you get us in trouble.
Let's
Uh,
get it.
y'all, y'all is a mess. I love y'all dearly. But yeah, it's time for some actionable advice. All right, who's going first? Me or you?
Man, I'll go first.
Oh, all right, here we go.
Do it. Man, over the next week, folks, until we see y'all next week. The fear of the unknown. The fear of the unknown. Write down any fear that you may have, right? Regardless of what it is. Go through your mental Rolodex. Figure out a fear that you have, a fear that you don't know what to do with, right? So there's a fear, and you're like, should I tackle this fear or should I not tackle this fear? And what do I want you to do with that fear? I want you to write that fear on a piece of paper. And then I want you to look at it upside down and sideways and crisscross and all those other things. And write down some of the pros and cons. Look at it from different aspects and point of view, and then figure out if you're going to either go to the bathroom or get off the pot. Figure out what the heck you're going to do with this thing, this fear that has been you have been holding on to for so long. I don't know what the fear is, but there are some people out there right now that listen to this that is going through something, and they have some fear going on in their life. Take the next 7 days, go through it, look at it from all different angles, and then make a decision and figure out what you're going to do. And if you don't know what you're going to do, then call a coach, call a therapist, talk to somebody and figure out, because sometimes you may need to talk to somebody about it. But at the end of the day, when there is fear right now, and if you haven't figured out what you're going to do with it, now is the time to do it. Figure out, write it down, look at it from different angles, talk to somebody, and then either go through with the fear and try to get over it, or either decide not to do anything about it.
I I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Um, I think I wholeheartedly believe that we have to maintain a posture of learning. We should be continually learning. We should be beings that believe in living a life of learning. And so we have to get to the point to where we embrace change. We look forward to certain things changing. We take on challenges. We take risks. We overcome fear. And so one of the things I want to give you, because we talked about it previously, I want to give you what a personal change framework will look like. But I think every person has to get to the point to where they create their own personal change framework on their own. Um, but if you have never done it and you don't have one, you can start using this one. So, step one, define purpose. Right, you have to understand what purpose looks like in your life. Number two, set incremental goals. Number three, engage in continuous learning and curiosity. Number four, recognize and acknowledge your fear. Number five, reframe your perspective. Number six, build a support network. Number seven, celebrate progress and reflect. And last but not least, reiterate, reflect and reiterate. So I think those things become important because those things kind of allow us to look at things differently and make the necessary changes that we need to make in our life. Once you get that down to a science and you can condense it, just like you heard I did previously, there are certain things that causes me to make a decision. I don't have to think long about it. I already know whether I'm going to do a thing or not do a thing. And because of that framework that I have etched in my brain, it allows me to make rapid decisions based upon whether I'm going to embrace this particular level of fear or whether that fear is just, I'm just going to exercise a bypass criteria. And I think a lot of us need to understand that there are things that you don't necessarily need to take on, that some people want you to take on, and that's okay. So that's my final thought. Create your own personal change framework for yourself so that you can make decisions quickly and then overcome any challenges that you have internally about them. The Uncle Junior. Now you know I've seen something. I got to bring it up, right? Because
You.
Miss Charlotte Jordan said you ain't gonna talk about her like that and get away with it, bro. Never too old for
I
change.
know that's right.
I love it. I love it.
I know that's right. I started off the new year hanging around her.
That's good.
So yeah, I'm gonna go visit
That's
her.
good. Well, look here, brother. As always, greatly enjoy these conversations. Great show. Chat, as always, you are amazing. So we appreciate you guys and all the value that you bring to the conversation. Um, any plans for the rest of the week?
I don't know.
No, 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 no.
No,
Cool.
man. Friday
Friday.
night, Heart of
There you go.
Men.
That was it. That's all.
About
That's all.
it, man.
Yeah, man. Me too. I got two
Yeah.
appointments between here and there,
Mm.
that I'm looking forward to, and it's a surprise for you as well. We might get to the point that we start interviewing some people on Coach's Corner, just so you
Say
know.
less. Say
Just so,
less.
so listen, you guys continue to be awesome. If nobody have told you yet this week, you guys are amazing. You guys are great. We love you. Have a great rest of your day, and let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else.